Hi everyone, in this video we will discuss all the questions which are present in chapter 3.3 and 3.4 of the practical book Computer Science with Python for class 12. Now consider the code and identify the types and values of arguments being passed for each function call. Then here you can see there is a function called func having three parameters a, b and c. B is assigned with value 5, C is with 10. That means these two are default parameters. And there is some operation is done within this function. Now finally the function is called three times. Now first function call we are passing two values 3 and 7. Now second function call the values are 25 and C is assigned with 24. The third function call C is equal to 50, A is equal to 100. These are the arguments passed when the function is called. Now let's see. So in function call 1, that is the parameters, the arguments passed are 3 and 7. Here A and B are positional arguments and C is the default argument. Why? Because the first value which is passed, that is 3, that will be by default assigned to the first parameter, that is A. The second value that is passed 7, that will be assigned to the second parameter, that is B. So the default value 5 that will be overridden by 7. That means B will have value 7. And C is having the default value 10 because you are not modifying C over here, not passing any value for C. So C will be 10. So A is 3, B is 7 and C is 10. A and B are the positional arguments because they are according to the position and C is the default argument. And a second function call, the values which are passed are 25 and C is equal to 24. So 25 is the first value, so by default it will be taken by the first parameter, that is A. So here A is the positional parameter argument and B value is not mentioned over here, so it will take the default value for B, that is 5. So B is the default argument and C is the keyword argument because we are assigning a different value for C over here. So C gets 24, A gets 25 and B gets 5. In the third function call, the arguments are like this: C is equal to 50 and A is equal to 100. So here A and C are keyword or the named argument because we are giving some values over here, and B is the default argument. We are not giving any value for B, so it will be taken 5. So A gets value 100, B gets 5 and C gets 50. So A and C are the named or keyword arguments and B is the default argument. Now what will be the output produced by the above program in question number 1? You can see the values are 3, 7 and 10 for the first function call and it is calculated. The output is -7. For the second function call, the values of A, B, C are 25, 5 and 24 respectively. And the output is 1249 after the calculation which is given in the code of in the definition part of the function. And the third function call is having values 100, 5 and 50 for A, B, C respectively. And the corresponding output is 20025 after the execution of this program. Now consider the following function header and find the errors in this function call statements. So there is a function header having name robot and this is taking some parameters. First one is the voltage. As you can see, this is not assigned with any value, so this is a positional argument. You can see the value which will be passed for as the first argument, that will be taken as voltage value. The second one is the default parameter. State is equal to a Steve, action is equal to some value is given, and type is also some value is given. Now check. Now there are different function calls. Now we'll check one by one what are the reasons, what are the problems in this function calls. In the first case, the function is called like this robot with empty parenthesis, no value is passed over here. So the other parameters which are having some default value, they will take the default values. But there is one positional parameter is there, that is voltage, for which we have to pass some value while calling the function. But that value is missing. So it will give the error as value for the positional argument voltage is missing. That's the reason why this function call is not legal or not valid. The second function call, you are calling like this, voltage is equal to 5.0 and dead within quotes. So here the error will be keyword argument before positional argument. Why? Because now voltage becomes a keyword argument because we are assigning it with some value over here, and date becomes a positional argument because it is just the value is passed without the name of the parameter, so it becomes a positional argument. Now as per the rule, positional argument should not follow the keyword argument. So that's the problem here over here. So we can modify the function call as like this. Within robot we can pass voltage is equal to 5.0 and state is equal to dead. Now what will happen? It will become legal because both the arguments are now keyword arguments. And the rest of the arguments will take their default values. So now we can call the function like this. In the third case, robot, we are passing two values 110. Next voltage is equal to 220. The first value that is passed 110, that will be by default assigned to the first parameter, that is voltage. And again we are assigning voltage is equal to 220. That means it's having multiple values for the same argument voltage 110 and 220. So this will create some problem. So this is not a legal code. The next one, within the robot function, there is one argument action is equal to Harrison code. So here you can see the value for the positional argument is missing. That you have to pass anyhow. The positional argument value we have to pass while calling the function. And rest of the parameters will take their default value. But if you miss that positional argument, then the function will create some error. So value for positional argument is missing in this case. Now what is wrong with the following code? Find reasons and correct it. And there is a function add3 having three parameters n1, n2 and n3, and it is returning n1 plus n2 plus n3. And again it is printing the answer is n1 plus n2 plus n3. The problem with this code is that the print statement will not be reached or will not be executed by the compiler because the function execution will end when the return statement will be encountered. So it will not check the function body after the return statement. So print statement will not be reached by the compiler. So that is the problem in this code. The corrected code can be like this, just def arg3, within that you pass the parameters and then just write the return statement. Or else you can do like this also, def arg3 with the parameters, then you can just have a print statement. The answer is n1 plus n2 plus n3. So this both the codes are correct. Now the following code gives an error. What is the solution? The code is like this. There is a function C2F. Within that there is a parameter C, and the result is calculated like this: C divided by 5.0 into 9 plus 32. Now return result. Now we are calling the function C underscore 2 underscore F by passing a value 19 within it, and the result is stored in a variable temp F, and it is printing result. Now the problem over here is the function code will be executed, and what is the output? The calculation is done and the value is stored in a variable result. But when you are calling the function by assigning a value temp f, so the result which is returned, that will be stored in a variable temp f, because we are calling the function or we are assigning the function call to that variable temp f. So the value returned by this function will be stored in the variable temp f. And once you want to see this value, then you have to write print temp f. Result you cannot write because result is a variable which is local to the function only. You can't just access it outside the function. So that is the problem with this code. Now the corrected code can be like this. The same program you have to write, same function you have defined. Only thing is that instead of printing the result, you have to print tempf variable. which is storing the result of this function. Now given some program below, write their flow of execution. The first program code is like this: def square with parameter x, and it is returning x into x, and square of s is called over there. So the code will be executed from the first line. So the first line will be executed for first. The flow of execution will be like this: line number 1. Then it will come out because there is a function definition over here. So it will not go through the codes again. It will come out of the program and will go to the main part. That is the line number 4. The line number 4, the function is called. So again it will go back to the definition part of the function. That is line number 1. Now it will go through all the codes or all the statements present in the function. So there is only one statement in this function, that is return x into x. So second line will be executed, and the value which is returned, that will be stored in a that will be returned to the place where the function is called. That is line number 4. So the flow of execution is like this: 1, 4, 1, 2, 4. These are the line numbers. In the second piece of code, you can see the same definition, def square is returning x into x, but here there is a print statement is having square of 5 plus square of 6. That means the square function is called 2 times over here. So first line number 1 will be executed, and it will skip the function body and will go to line number 4. In the line number 4, it will see that the square function is called. So again it will go to the function definition part, that is line number 1 and 2. It will return to line number 4. Now again that's same line, square of 6 is also called, another square function is called one more time. So it will again go back to the definition part, and the first line will be executed, then the second line, then it will come back to line number 4. So here you can see in this piece of code, in the first line, one function square is defined. A fourth line, another function sum of squares is defined. And a seventh line, actually the main part starts at seventh line. So first it will execute the line number 1, then it will come out of the function, then it will execute line number 4. Again it will come out of the function, it will execute line number 7. In line number 7, you can see there is a function sum of squares is called. So it will go to that line where this function is defined, that is line number 4. Now it will execute the function body, that is line number 5. But in line number 5, again the square function is called. So it will go to that line where this function is defined, that is line number 1, and then line number 2. And again the result will be returned to line number 5. Again, one more square function is called with value y in the line number 5. So it will again go back to line number 1 and 2 where the square function is defined. And it will return back to line number 5. After that, the result will be returned to line number 7. And then finally, line number 8 will be executed. So this is the flow of execution for this code. Now from the program given below, identify the scope of each variable in the program. So here you can see there are different variables in this program. X is a variable, pi is another variable, y is one more variable, the next variable is r, then n, then ar. These are all the variables which are present in this function. Now we'll check one by one what are the scope of this function. The first variable is x, which is defined globally or outside any local scope, so it is present in the global scope of this program. Next variable is pi, which is also present outside of any function definition, so it is also present in a global scope. Then next variable is y, which is defined or which is present in a function definition part of INCR. So this is a local variable which is local to the function INCR. The next variable is r, which is passed as a parameter for this function area. So this r is also a local variable which is present in a local scope of the function area. Next variables n and a are also, these two variables are defined within this function area only. So these two are local variables and their scope is local to the function. Their scope is within the function definition area. The next program is to write a function that takes a character and returns true if it is a vowel, otherwise it will return false. So it's a very easy and simple piece of code. You just have to define a function. Let's say the function I've defined over here is check. It's taking one character as its parameter. Then it will check whether it is in this list of the vowels, that is A, E, I, O, U. If it is present in this, then it will return true, otherwise it will return false. Now we are calling this function by passing these four values. The values are u, k, m and I. The four times this function is called by passing these different values, and the corresponding output is true, false, false, true. Now write a program that passes value n to a function Mersenne, and the function returns nth Mersenne number, where the nth Mersenne number is calculated as 2 to the power n minus 1. So here we have to define a function. Let's say the function name is Mersenne and with a parameter n, and it will return 2 to the power n minus 1. Now we will call this function. I've called over here two times. First time I'm calling the function, I'm passing the argument as 5. That means it will print the fifth Mersenne number, storing the result in a variable m1. The second time I'm calling the function Mersenne with argument 3, and its result is stored in a variable m2. So we are printing these two values and the output is showing like this. Fifth Mersenne number is 31 and third Mersenne number is 7. Now write a void function that receives a 4-digit number and calculates the sum of squares of first two digits and last two digits. Now let's see, this is a function. Let's say the function name is SUMSQ and with a value n. Now we have to find out what are the first two digit and last two digit of this 4-digit number. Now if you divide the number by 100, then whatever remainder you are getting, that is actually the last two digit of the number. And if you just do floor division with 100, then whatever quotient you are getting, that is the first two digit of the number. So we got the numbers and we're storing the variable LD and FD. So first two digits are FD and last two digits LD. Now sum is calculated like this. S is equal to FD to the power 2 plus LD to the power 2. Now it will print the sum of squares of first two digits and last two digits is S. So here you can see the function has to be a void function, so there is no return statement in this function. And while calling the function, we can call like this SUMSQ by passing one argument, let's say 1234. And here you can see the first two digits are 12 and the last two digits are 34. And the sum of squares of first two digit and last two digit, it is coming as 1300. Now next program is write a function that takes one argument and reports if the argument is prime or not. So here you have to define a function which will check the primality of a number. Let's say the function which are defining, that is having name check underscore prime, and within that we are passing that parameter n, which will be checked whether it is a prime number or not. Now we are defining like this: if n is equal to 1, then it will print it's not a prime number. Then it will check from 2 to n. For I in range 2 to n, if n percentage of I equal to 0, then it will print not prime. That means if it is divisible by any number between the range 2 to n, then it is not prime number, it will print not prime and break. Otherwise, else it will print prime. So here you can see we are using else statement with for. Normally else is used with if. But in Python, we can use else with for loop as well as while loop also. So what will happen when the for loop will complete its execution, then the else part will be executed. That means here, if n is not divisible by any value of I in the range 2 to n, that means it is a prime number. So it will print prime. Now we'll call this function So we will check whether x is a prime number or not. So for that purpose, we will accept one variable. We will accept the value from the user, and that will be stored in a variable x. And we'll call the check prime function by passing this value x. Then it will print whether x is a prime number or not. Now let's see. Now, as I said, I have used else statement for loop. So here in Python, else keyword can be used with the for and while loop also. And the else block appears after the body of the loop. In the statements, the else block will be executed after all the iterations are completed, and only when the loop is not terminated by a break statement. Then only the else part will be executed. And the program exits the loop only after the else block is executed. Now we'll run this program. First, let's say we have passed the value as 11, then it is showing it's a prime number. And the next time we are given the value as 9 and it's showing 9 is not a prime number. Now there ends the questions of chapter 3.3. Now we'll start with the questions of chapter 3.4. Okay, so before discussing the questions of this chapter, I would just like to tell you one important thing, that is mutability or immutability of the arguments and parameters. When you are passing one data within a function call or function definition, then we have to check whether the data is a mutable type or immutable type. And accordingly, it will behave differently. Like if a variable is referring to a mutable type like list, then the changes made within the function will change the same object without creating any new object. That means if there is a list variable and within the function we are like modifying the content of the list, or we're adding some element to the list, this modification will be done in the same list, which is like the parameter list, the same object. So after function call also, the variable will retain the changed value. But if the variable is referring to an immutable type like integer, then the changes within the function cannot be made on the same object. Since integer is an immutable type, if you are modifying the value of the integer, it cannot take place in the same object. So a new object is created within the function. Like suppose there is an integer variable I, which is having global value 3, and within the function we are modifying the value as I into 2, I is equal to I into 2. That means the same I will not have the value 6 within the function. Rather, it will create one new object having value 6, and that value will be limited to that function only. And after the function, outside of the function, if you access the value of I, then it will access the global value or the original value, or you can say the previous value of this object. So that is the main important thing that you have to consider while doing all these programs. Now consider the following program. Here you can see there is a function defined, my function, with parameters L and V. And within the function body, what is happening? L of 0 is incremented by 2. That means L is a list, and what is the item, whatever is the element present at the 0 index number, that is incremented by 2. And V plus equal to 2, that means the next parameter, that is V, which must be one integer, that is incremented by 2. Now print the values of variables within called function L and V. Now return. Now in the main program, we have defined list1 is equal to 1. That means this is the list having single value, that is 1. Then variable 1 is one variable which is assigned with a value 1, var1. Now print values before the function call, list1 and variable 1. And my function is called over here with arguments list1 and var1. Then print values after the function call, that is list1 and var1. That means actually over here there are two global variables, list1 and variable 1. List1 is a list having value 1, and variable 1 is one integer with value 1. Now it is printing the first print statement. The values before function call will be list1 var1. That is obviously the global values will be accessed, that is 1 in a list, and second one is 1. This next time Next, in a line number 10, the function is called with parameters list1 and var1. Then what will happen once the function is called? Then you can see the function is having two parameters L and V. So L will refer to list1 and V will refer to var1. In the next line, line number 2, you can see L of 0 plus equal to 2. That means we are increasing the first element value of the list by 2. So what will happen in this case? This the same list that is passed as argument, that is list 1. There only the value which is present in list 1, that is 1, that value will be incremented by 2. Now list 1 will having a value 3. Now here no new list object is created because list is one mutable data type. And in line number 3 you can see variable is incremented by 2. So var1 will be now 3, having value 3. Now if you print within this function, you can get the values as within list you will find 3 and next v is having value 3. The last statement, that is print the values after the function call, that you can see list 1 will having the it should supposed to access the global value, that is 1. But why it will not access the global value? Rather it will print the value as 3, that is the modified value of whatever modification we have done in this function. Why? Because the modification or the changes which are done, that is done in the same list at the same place. And the variable 1 will access the global value, that is 1. Why? Because within the function a new integer object is created and the value 3 is assigned to the new integer object. But outside of the function or the after function call, we are accessing the value of variable 1, which will access the global value, that is 1. Now see the output. You can see first is identify the flow of execution and the next line is what is the output. The flow of execution will be like this. First line number 1 will be executed. Then it will come out of the function definition. Then line number 7 will be executed. Then line number 8 and 9. Then 10. In line number 10, the function is called. So it will go to the function body. Then the corresponding lines will be executed for this function, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again it will come back to line number 10. Then line number 11 will be executed. And you can see the output is like this. The values before function call will be 1 as a list and then 1. Then values within the function call, that is 3 in a list and 3 as an integer variable. Then values after function call will be same 3 in a list and 1. Why it is like this? Now let's see the reason of this output. Now what is the reason for the output? You can see the values before function call will be 1 and 1. That means it will access the global values. And within the function call, the values will modify as per the code and it will print the final value as 3 in a list and then 3. Then after function call, it will print the values as 3 and 1. Why? Because as you can think, it should access the global values only. But for the list, it is not accessing the global value. Only for the variable, it is accessing the global value. Why? Because passing a list as an argument actually passes a reference to the list, not a copy of the list. Since lists are mutable data types, so changes made to the parameter will change the argument as well. So changes made in the same object only. No new object is created over here. So no new list object is created. So the changes made to the list parameter inside the function will reflect after the function call as well. But in case of variable 1, that is one integer data type which is immutable. So whatever modification we have done, that cannot take place in the same object. So within the function call, a new integer object is created and the modification is done in that new object. That means v is assigned with the value 3. But this new object value is returned when the function is called. But after the function call, it will access the original value of var1, that is 1. Now consider the following program. It is just like the same previous program only. But here the function is having the parameters list1 and var1, and while the function is being called, it is also the arguments passed are also having the same name, list1 and var1. Otherwise, whatever statements inside the both the programs, those are same. Now identify the flow of execution. What is the output and what is the reason of the output? You can see the flow of execution is like this. First line number 1, then 7, 8, 9, then 10. In line number 10, the function is called. So it will go back to line number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then it will execute line number 10 and 11. Now the output is like this. The values of variables before function call is 1, 1. And within function call is 3, 3. After function call is 3, 1. The output will be same as it was in a previous program. And reason here the argument names are same as the parameter name, unlike the previous program where the parameter names are different from argument names. It doesn't make any difference, but if the mutable parameter is assigned a different variable inside the function, then we can expect some change. Now, just to make the memory environments for this program, I have not done a memory environment for each and every line. Just you can see only for line number 7 and 8, where the global variables are defined. So in the global environment, list1 is having value 1 and var1 is having value 1. In line number 10, you can see the local environment of my function is like this. List1 is equal to having value 3 and var1 is having value 3. These are the modified values. And in the global environment, list1 is having the modified value that is 3 and var1 is having its global value that is 1. Now consider the following code. The same function df my function having parameters L and V, and same thing, list of 0 is incremented by 2 and V is also incremented by 2, but here one more thing is there. There is one more list N having values 2, 3 and 4, and L is equal to N. That means L refers to list N. Then L dot append 7, then print LV return. Now the global variables are list1 is equal to 1 and var1 is equal to 1. Then print the values before function call list1 var1. Then it will obviously access the global values. That means it will print 1 and 1. The next one, my function is called with values list1 and var1. So what will happen once the function is called? So whatever changes is there inside the function that will be imposed on these variables, and the variable will change its value. So you can see here L refers to list1 and V refers to var1. And the next line, L of 0 plus equal to 2, that means the list value is modified. Initially the list was having value 1 and now it will have value 3. So list 1 will be assigned with the value 3 and V is equal to plus is equal to 2. That means var1, for var1 there will be one new object will be created and its value will be assigned with 3. Next, n is another list and L is equal to n. So here what will happen, L will refer to the list n, but list 1 is having the value 3, which is done in a previous statement. Now L dot append 7, what will happen? Actually 7 will be appended with the list n and L will refer to list n. Now print LV will print the values as, first one it will print the value of L, that means the value of the list which is being referred by L, that is 2, 3, 4, 7, and the value of V, that is the modified value, that is 3. Then after the function call, you can see if you print list1 and var1, then you can see list1 will have value 3 and var1 will have its global value 1. Now identify the flow of execution and what is the output. So the flow of execution is like this. First line number 1, then it will go to line number 10, then line number 11, then 12 and 13. Line number 13, the function is called, so it will go back to the function definition part. So line number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 will be executed. Then it will come back to line number 13 and then line number 14 will be executed. The output is like this. The variables before function call is 1 and 1, 1 in a list and then normal 1. Then within function call it is the list is 2, 3, 4, 7. The variable is 3. And after function call the list is 3 and the variable is 1. Now what is the reason of the output? You see the values before function call will be 1 and 1. That means it will access the global values, and within function call ALV will modify as per the code and it will print the final values of A as 2, 3, 4, 7 and 3 is assigned to the variable V. Then after the call, variable 1 still refers to 1. List being a mutable type, whatever changes made to the list parameter is actually changed in the list variable. That means list 1 of 0 becomes 3. Now when you are assigning L is equal to N is another list. That means the value of N is referred by L. But list 1 is having value 3 only. So the values after function call will be 3 and 1. Now you can see the memory environment is like this. The global environment line number 10 and 11 is like this. List 1 is having value 1 and variable 1 is 1. And next I have just shown like this. I have not drawn different memory environment for different lines. Just in a single picture I have just shown the environments in different lines. And global environment for line number 14 for list 1 is 3 and where 1 is equal to 1. The local environment for main function you can see here in line number 2, L is equal to L of 0 plus is equal to 2. That means L is assigned to a list 3 and list 1 is modified. List 1 is initially having value 1 and it is modified in the same place. The list object got modified and its value become 3. And line number 3, B is equal to 3. Line number 4, N is another list having value 2, 3 and 4. In line number 5, where L is equal to N, that means N is assigned to L. That means L is now referring to the list which is referred by N. So you can see with this arrow mark, I am representing that L refers to this list 2, 3, 4. The line number 6, L refers to the list 2, 3, 4, 7 because 7 is appended with the list. But list 1 is having the value 3 only. So the global value for list 1 is now 3. The line number 14, if you see the output, list 1 is having 3 and where 1 is having value 1. Now here is the solutions of practical book chapter number 3.3 and 3.4 that is working with functions. Now stay tuned for more solutions and you can check the description box to get the video links for other solutions and do subscribe to get notified, and thank you.